The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and I'm very, very excited tonight to bring on my special featured guest of the evening, Lisa O'Hurley. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to get into tonight's discussion. I'm excited to have her on. She's been a guest a number of times on the broadcast, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. But let me just tell you a little about her first. Her background is very impressive, includes being a former Golf Channel and Golfino executive. She's a lifelong love for golf clothing and an impeccable sense of style. She was also a star for 4 years at Baylor University golf team and has 4 handicap playing at a Sherwood Country Club in Thousand Oaks, California. And I'm going to say this hopefully right, Mayakama Golf Club in Sonoma, California. Please welcome my very special guest, the CEO and founder of LOHLA Sport, Lisa O'Hurley. Lisa,
thank so much about me. So great.
Well, you know, it's funny. This is the first time. Of course, we met at the PGA show a couple of times. I didn't make it this year, unfortunately, but I've been lurking around your booth a couple times over the years, and so we got to meet there briefly. But as I was alluding to on the show, you know, this is the first year we've done now moved to a video format. Prior was just the audio, so we never really got a chance to do it in this sort of setting. So. Welcome to the new format. Hopefully keep our fingers crossed everything goes well. No glitches, no storms in the area or anything like that. But really, really excited to have you. And I appreciate you giving so much of your time coming on the broadcast. And I love having you on. And we're going to get you on. By the way, I'm going to get you on. I'll send you the link later. But to get you come on the other program I do, Women of Golf with Cindy and I, that you've done before as well. And we'll figure out what's good for your schedule and you can come on that one as well. But so I want to get you, before we get into some of the specifics I know that you want to talk about, I want you to talk about LOHLA Sport. What was it about that you decided, or I guess what was going on that you decided this is something that I want to do? Obviously, I know you love fashion, you love golf, of course. You and your husband, John, play all the time. But what was it about fashion, I guess, and golf fashion particularly, that made you decide, okay, this is what I want to do?
Well, to be honest, Ted, you know, I didn't give it as much thought, you know, as people might think. It wasn't like I grew up thinking I was going to be be in fashion or own a clothing brand. I certainly didn't think that. I kind of did know that my life was destined to be in golf. I mean, I grew up in golf. My parents were both in the golf business. I started at the Golf Channel at day one. And then I kind of sidetracked into the apparel format when I discovered Golfino, actually overseas, playing in the Dunhill Links. Right. And I was so taken with it. And I was sort of a, you know, self-described fashionista of my own accord, in my own closet. So I got really excited when I saw that brand. And at the time I had left the Golf Channel, and, you know, John and I had a son, and he was getting ready to go into kindergarten. And I thought, you know, I'm ready to try something different, but not too different. I had to stay in golf. Right. So I went and met with the couple that owned Golfino, and I started working their brand here in America in 2013. And it was really COVID, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, that was the demise of Golfino. But at the same time, I had already built a business here. I'd already built an apparel business. So I had a great sales team. We had excellent customers in the country clubs across the U.S. And it was time. And I had made great connections in terms of designer and manufacturers, and I was able to kind of connect dots and design our own thing that's definitely different than Golfino, but a lot of the same fabrics, a lot of the same great European fabrics, but definitely more US driven and American looking.
Sure.
And I sort of had the idea during COVID when we were all sitting around, thinking of what next to do or what to do.
Right.
So this was the time I was able to mold LOHLA Sport, and we sent out our first collections in January of 2021. So we're at about a 4.5 year period now.
So when you look back now and you think about, and we'll talk about some of the lines, I'll let you talk about some of the different branding and that you've created over these last 4+ years. What was some of the inspiration? You talk about Golfino, of course, with some inspiration, the European brands, but obviously the American market is much different than Europe. I mean, if you look at many of the clothing lines there, what they wear and what we typically wear here are distinctly different in a lot of ways. Not everything, but there are certain things. So when you were sort of envisioning in your mind, how did you kind of take what you saw in the Golfino brand and sort of say, okay, I've got to, for lack of better words, Americanize it a little bit for this audience over here? How did you find that balancing act? Because there is a difference if you look at it.
Yeah, there certainly is. And I think the first thing we stuck with was the fabrics. That was the design was fabulous too, but in terms of a selling point of what Golfino was, the fabrics were so wonderful. And, the tops are buttery soft and the pants have a lot of stretch and, things that women want worldwide, wherever you live.
Right.
So, that was the first thing that we harnessed really was the fabrics and keeping those similar, if not exactly the same. And then, you're right. We did have to sort of upgrade the design to become more American. And, what that means to us is, it was a little bit more lady friendly in that it didn't have some craziness things that some of the European styles can have. Yeah. I promised initially, and this is a true story, I promised the buyers at the country clubs that there would be no faces, no eyes looking at you on the apparel. So, right. We had some funny ones. We had some owls and we had some robots and we had some interesting things. So we took out the faces and, really created classic lean designs, clean cuts, a lot of color blocking. One thing that the designer Paul and I sort of got into was sort of color matching, trying to create colorways that look good on a wide variety of people, which is kind of hard to do, but you can do that if you combine 2 or 3 colors up near the face, because if one of those colors looks good on you, then that shirt will look good on you. So it's kind of a neat way to do it, by using some interesting color blocking to make sure that that particular top would look good on a wide variety of people. But to be honest, where we've really have killed it, lack of a better word, is with our pants. The Sofaletta fabric is fabulous from France, and our design seems to really resonate with a lot of women. So much so that, we carry core colors and then we continue to make fashion colors of the very pant. And we now have the very long pant for women who are, 5'11" and over, which there are quite a few, believe it or not, and lovely long-legged ladies. So the very pant has really been our core piece that has driven the company. A lot of times now we're at this point in this 4.5 year period where there are people who have known us since day one. And then there are people still in areas where we're not really covered that well who are still getting to know the brand. But now it's, you guys make the very pant. So that's sort of our moniker, so to speak, is how a lot of people know us, is from how great our pants are.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you in sort of concert with that is, it's not just the look of the fashion, but the feel as well. Women have to, women obviously like the visual appeal of what you're putting together, but it also has to be comfortable. They have to be comfortable. They have to feel,
Absolutely.
particularly they have to feel comfortable. And I don't mean just on, in addition to how it fits, but they have to feel comfortable wearing it. As you pointed out a second ago, you had to take the eyes off and,
Yeah.
do it that so they didn't feel, self-conscious about it. So how did you sort of balance that out as well? Because that's a big one for
It is.
women.
And, the fabrics do the talking, but we wanted to make styles that literally you could wear from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed. And I think that we've done that. We've got a lot of these really great tight core collections that are interchangeable. You can mix and match to create a lot of different outfits within them. And what's really nice about that is that you can, based on the weather and your preference of the day, you can kind of choose an outfit. And whether you're playing golf or not, you're going to be comfortable and look put together all day long. And, we've really gotten a little bit too into more travel wear, showcasing how we can mix and match outfits where, you can literally pack 8 styles and get 12, 13 outfits out of it, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Just by the mixing and matching and stay comfortable the whole time. So, the fabrics are really built for comfort, and then we tailor the designs so that you will look appropriate from morning to night.
Yeah, because I know, not just in golf but outside of golf, a lot of women, when they're looking at whatever fashion that they're of the day, is they want to know that it's going to sort of hug them in the right places and be flattering, of course, but they don't want it so that it's tight here or loose here, that it's not going to be form fitting to some degree, and some want a little bit more flexibility too. And you guys, what's really kind of interesting is you guys have sort of ushered in what you refer to as the golf leisure market, which is really, really nice. I know you touched on that, something similar like Lululemon and whatnot, and the sort of the athleisure, if you will. What's behind that?
Well, we started initially, I think it was our second season, we made our first, what I would call a tracksuit. I mean, for lack of a better word, it's a jacket and pull-on pants that match. And those kind of took off. And to be honest, I have to think to not wear one every day, because I obviously have every one that we've ever made.
Right.
But they are so comfortable and put together. And those truly are what I travel in when I'm going on an airplane, is I wear one of our tracksuits. Like right now we have the runaround jacket and the runaround pants, and those coordinate to each other to match. We have the fall jacket and the golf fitness pull-on pant. That also goes as a set. We've now added a different jacket that can go with those pants, which is the luxury chevron jacket. And, these sets are really good looking. They're fashionable, yet truly you can go do yoga in them. I can go to the gym in it. I could wear it to work and not miss a beat and go to Equinox. So it's kind of nice. And what I really like about the pants that we're doing that are in these tracksuits, or the golf fitness pull-on pant, which is my favorite pant that we make, to be honest. It's a pull-on pant, but it has back pockets to make it country club appropriate. But what I like about them too is that we don't shorten them. So in other words, it's not like a yoga pant where you're going to see half of your calf hanging out. So they actually go all the way to your ankle, which I like, because it does make them look much more put together. And even though I haven't bought them yet, my plan though is to buy some of Sneaks. I don't know if you've heard of this, but the woman who made Spanx is now making these like athletic looking high heels. I'm going to buy these and I'm going to wear them with our tracksuits. That way I can really I can cocktail party, I think, even in my tracksuit. Yeah.
Yeah. Spice them up a little bit. What, I guess, Lisa, what's really interesting to me when, I hear you talk about LOHLA Sport is obviously you're very, very passionate about what you do. And I think obviously that has to be important no matter what your business is. And now that you've been doing this for a little while, when you first started things out, you kind of have to go, and I say by the seat of your pants, because you don't really know how it's going to be received. I mean, you've got great, people around you and helping you and things like that. And you're pulling great fabrics and that from Europe and that sort of thing, designs, but you don't really know what's going to happen until customers start getting it in their hands. So tell us a little bit about, obviously it's done very well and very, very successful, but what have you learned in more recent years, or say the last year, that you didn't know in year one? So what's been some of the feedback? What's been some of the direction that you've sort of gotten from your customers when they say to you, okay, wow, I really like this, the very pant, as you mentioned earlier, and other things that you carry in the line. What is, I guess, what's their direction they're leading you to now that they have a better understanding of what it is you're offering to them?
Right. Well, as I say, I did know the pants would be popular. I didn't realize how popular they would be. So that's certainly going to stay a focus of ours for
Sure.
the next few years, is these pants. And people are asking for colors that we had 2-3 years ago, and they want to see them come back. And so we might do a little bit of a cycle, so that the people who knew us 3 years ago aren't necessarily everybody who knows us now. So, some people are upset that they missed that part. So, we will recycle some colors. Our shorts, we took the pant and we cut them off and made a short. Those have been really popular. And, what I'm learning is that not a lot of companies make shorts. And so our shorts have really been popular, especially for golfers who walk. I've noticed that they like a short often versus a skort. We did change recently, just this season, the inside lining of our skorts. So we got some feedback that our customers wanted to see a different fabric for the shorts that go underneath. So we changed all of that. That's kind of a big deal to do, to fully revamp. So we did that this season. So that was good, and we're getting really good feedback on that. And one thing I kind of heard at the PGA show, speaking of PGA show, is that that our customers are liking that we're staying true to golf clothing too, that everything that we make, you can play golf in.
Right.
Whereas, some of the other brands might be becoming more lifestyle-ish, which I think is great, because you can wear it all over. But not necessarily can you play golf in everything that they make. So we are trying to make sure that we do that every single thing that we make, that I do the swing test, that's me. Right. But, and Paul, our designer, is certainly looking at the fabrics and the stretch and all of that. But I want to make sure that you can still play golf in everything that we make.
Yeah, because that's a great point. And you're exactly right. I've seen a lot of many of the other lines, and there's nothing wrong with getting into other markets and that. But I think sometimes when you do that, you run the risk of getting too far away from your core market. And I know obviously every business wants to grow and wants to expand in that. But sometimes when you find a niche that works really well for you, sometimes if you stay in that lane, it's going to bode better for you down the road. Tell us about the Luxe Getaways collection that's now available.
Oh yeah, so that
is become super popular. Tell us about that and why you think it's gotten so popular.
So that's our new spring line. So we have an overlying theme for each season, and for this spring it's Luxe Getaways. So we've already released Raffles, which actually I'm wearing now. It has a little bit of like a Tiffany blue to it. I don't know how well you can see that, but Raffles is based on basically Singapore. So the Raffles Hotel in Singapore, and it has an Asian influence to it, which is it has this awesome print called the Zen print. Which people are really, really gravitating toward. Plus, we've incorporated this sort of Tiffany blue color. And people just really, there's not a woman that doesn't love that color. So, it's like Pavlov's dog. You see Tiffany blue, you start to salivate. So, so Raffles has really taken off. And then we followed it up with a staycation for Los Angeles with a collection called Shutters, which is based off of Santa Monica, California. And I tell you what, when we made this collection, we had no idea that the fires were going to happen. And now it just means so much to us personally, being able to showcase the Shutters collection, because it is an homage to Santa Monica, which was, is borderline to Pacific Palisades for people who don't know, the geography of Los Angeles. But The Shutters collection is bright and fun loving, and it has, the beautiful blue of the ocean, and tulip pink, which is the pink in the flowers, that you see all across Santa Monica. And it also has the promenade skirt and the promenade top, which is sort of, our little cute shopping area in Santa Monica. So that collection is really hitting home even more than I would think, because of, what we've gone through here in Los Angeles.
Right.
And then we're following that up with two collections that are a little bit more dressy. So we've just released Ritz, which features a really cool snakeskin print. And there's few prints are better than animal prints. So,
Right.
Animal prints just seem to really wow. So this particular Ritz collection, and it's in a cool color that's seemingly popular right now, that we're calling it pink champagne, but it's got kind of a pinky melon color almost to it. And then we're about to release, like maybe in 3 weeks, a collection called Savoy, which is a beautiful black and white and khaki, like super elegant looking collection. And then we follow up with Plaza, which is definitely a New York theme in red, white, and blue, and stars and stripes and everything that you would want for 4th of July. So that's sort of our Luxe Getaways, the 5-tiered prong. Yeah.
Wow. And, you always manage to come out with something different every season. And, that's, again, what I was sort of alluding to earlier is, you're getting a lot of feedback now that you've been around for a few years in the market. You're starting to get some back and forth with your customers saying, we really like this, or, we would love to see something like that. So it gives you, now that you've got a few years under your belt, you're able to now pull from that feedback and say, okay, this is a direction that we want to continue in. This is one that it was okay, but it's not as popular. It's not as desirable. So let's try something different that we think is going to really, and obviously that's what you've done here. I know you've mentioned this before, but for those that maybe haven't tuned into the show, except for the first time now, is you obviously are working with Annika Sorenstam.
Yes.
Who everybody knows, Annika, from her time on the LPGA, and obviously since then. Tell us how that relationship came about and what you guys are working on together.
Oh, we got a lot going on. In fact, I talked to her yesterday. Well, nobody's a bigger fan of Annika than I am, and both from her professional and for her personal life. The fact that she's won 90 times,
I know.
When we have this great golf tournament that we have called the LOHLA Sport Tournament of Club Champions, and Annika comes in and we do a great fireside chat. And the women, the way that they react to her and her stories, and there's laughter and tears and, everything in between. But she has just she's got such great background in golf and such humility of the way she learned and growing up in Sweden, and, how, and to be honest, she's an old school learner. She's not the one out there with, the computer and the technology. She's a feel learner. And it's been really fun to watch her up close and to play with her a couple times. That's, pinch me. But it's been really fun. And professionally, we got, we were already friends, which helped certainly. And she was sort of exiting her time at Cutter and Buck, and LOHLA Sport was kind of just sort of taking off. And as a friend, she came up to me and said, I think it's looking great, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm, I love how it looks, and your website looks great. The clothes look great. And, so then when the time came, I asked Mike, her husband, who's also her manager, I said, I just really want to be in the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I realized that our brand is brand new, and she's got a lot of people wanting her.
Yeah.
But, long story short, she really liked the clothes. And one of the things that she said is, when I wear LOHLA Sport, I don't feel like I have a glove hanging out of my back pocket.
Right.
Like she didn't feel so golfy.
Right.
So, which I loved that, because, her life now is not, it is golfy, right, but not so golfy. She's got a lot going on. Oh, and in fact, she and I are partnering in June, we've got a really big deal coming up. We are LOHLA Sport and Annika are both partnering with Regent Seven Seas Cruises, and we're doing their first ever golf cruise. And Annika will be there. LOHLA Sport will have a pop-up shop on board. We'll do a fashion show. We've got a tournament planned. We've got 7 different bucket list golf locations that we're cruising to, and you have the opportunity to play 1 or all 7 or 2, 3, 4, 6, whatever it is. But we're really looking forward to that, and I think that will be something that we will be doing for quite a while, because it's really it seems to work well for all parties, and so we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and she's really has become over the years a great ambassador for golf, and not just women's golf either.
No.
I mean, she has been an ambassador for golf in general, and for those of us that really enjoyed watching her, it was kind of sad when she sort of hung up the clubs, figuratively speaking, professionally, because she was a lot of fun to watch and very some people might look at it and say, well, she was a very serious player on the golf course, but so was Nicholas. But you have to be if you want to win 90 tournaments. It's not like, and I don't mean disrespectfully when I say Freddie Couples, but it's just not in her DNA to be that way, and she just is great. So it was kind of sad to see her go, but I know at the same time, I know that she's had a foot in it in other avenues in golf, and it's great to see her partner with you in this with LOHLA Sport, because it is a great brand that you have, and she brings a lot to it as well. And I can imagine you guys have a lot of fun. So,
and she's got a really good business mind too.
Oh yeah,
she enjoys it. She enjoys every facet of it. She's always asking me questions, asking me about this and that. She has comments, of course, on the clothes, and she and I really enjoy each other. And Ted, I was going to tell you too, I had the distinct pleasure of she took me to Pine Valley this year.
Oh wow!
So she's one of the very few women members at Pine Valley, and so I don't know if you've had the privilege to play Pine Valley, but it's pretty cool. And one of the cool parts is just the atmosphere. So you stay there on campus, everybody eats in the same place, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so when we got there and we went to our first dinner, and Annika walks in. I mean, every man sitting in that room came up to her to say they were so happy she was a member, to tell her how wonderful she was, how much they've loved watching her over the years. I mean, you walk around with her, it's pretty impressive the way that people react to her. It's really cool.
Well, she's always been very professional, both on and off the golf course, and I think again, she's been a great ambassador for the game. And, I know as I said, she still keeps busy doing so many other things. And I know she plays competitive in other ways, but, not obviously in the tour like she did. And, there's been whispers, you hear people saying, well, maybe she's going to come back and that. I don't think so. I think she's got too many other things going on. But, would it be nice once in a while, maybe, her do something very similar to what they do at the beginning of the Masters, where they have some of the legends of golf tee off, and maybe that's something that she could do. But I think she's just having a great time. She's married, has a family, and just doing the things that she likes to do. What's the most challenging part of what you do? What do you find? I mean, obviously you have a lot of love and a lot of I know there's a lot. I mean, that's a big crate to unpack. But seriously, what was sort of the most challenging when you were getting things going? And when you look at it today, and I don't mean necessarily the hardest, but what's the most challenging, but at the same time, the most rewarding part of what you do?
Well, I don't know if those are the same. Most challenging is manufacturing, for sure.
Right, of course.
It's, it's something that I've had to learn. I didn't really know the nuts and bolts to it. And, I would say this would be a great business if you didn't have to make anything. But manufacturing is rough. It's and I can see why the manufacturers who do it well are so sought after, because it's a very and you have to have a lot of trust. You have to have a lot of trust in people who are making your product. So that's probably the hardest, is just and the timing, getting it all right, getting the fabrics, getting the zippers, getting the buttons, getting all of it together. That's difficult. So that's probably the hardest. Now, what has been the most rewarding? Oh my gosh, it's the customer reaction for sure.
Yeah.
And what's super exciting, Ted, is little things like, I have an 18-year-old son, and he was traveling recently, and he was on an airplane, and a lady came on in a full LOHLA Sport outfit, and he was dying. He was so excited. But it's things like that when you see it out and around, and you think, oh my gosh, something that I did is causing that woman to wear that. It's pretty cool.
And he recognized it too. That was the beauty of it too.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that.
Well, he as a son, he has to do some warehouse work, so he knows it as well as I do. But so that's really cool, and it's cool to get remarks on social media or just even to our email about ladies liking this or that, or when they send pictures of them and their girlfriends playing in a member guest and they're all wearing it. That really, that really tugs at your heartstrings for sure.
Oh yeah. Now I know you and John, your husband, play a lot of golf together. You do a lot of charity work together. And what is, I think, the most fun that you guys have out on the golf course together? Because that's as a couple, obviously you have lots of fun and lots of friends, and you do all kinds of things in other areas. But when you're out in the golf course, because I know he loves golf probably as much, maybe, who knows, maybe even more than you do. But what's fun for you when you and he are teeing it up?
Well, we do like to play together.
Right.
So we really enjoy that. Any tournaments where he and I can pair up, or even, as you say, we do a lot of charity events, some celebrity charity events, and those things where we can play together is always really fun because he is super supportive on and off the golf course, but especially on the golf course. I will say now, we have been doing a lot of charity work with golf, and it's super rewarding. It is, the golf is one thing, but it's getting the people together, the organization of it, the auctions, the ways that you can raise money for various charities. It really makes you feel good when, you've worked for 6 months on something, you have the event, and you're able to, give a few $100,000 to a charity that means the world to them. That's really, really cool. And John and I have a couple that, are very close to us as a couple, right, and as a family. And so that's been, it's really cool that your favorite hobby can also, be a great fundraiser for, a variety of needs. So we're really enjoying that. And our son is, he was really into golf from ages 3 to 5, and then he gave it up. Now he's circling back at age 18. And in fact, we just went out and played this weekend. And so getting to do that together is also super special. If he can beat us on one hole, he's happy. So that's pretty fun.
What was it about golf that appealed to you years ago, before you started LOHLA Sport, before you got into anything else? What was it about the game because everybody has a different story. For me, as an example, my father taught me when I was very, very young. And, as much as I would have loved to have been able to battle it with somebody like Nicholas or, that generation, because that was, and showing my age now, I didn't have that caliber of a game to be able to do that. So I got into the teaching side of things and other areas in golf. But you have a story, I would imagine, of how you got introduced to golf and why it sort of, how it sort of took root. So tell us a little bit about that. How did you first get into golf, and why has it become such an intricate part of your life?
Well, I grew up in country clubs. My dad was a country club manager my whole life. He was a GM. And my mom was either a membership director or merchandise buyer, kind of depended. So I kind of grew up around it, but I didn't really get into it until I was, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13. I was kind of looking for a sport. I actually started with tennis, but I'm an only child. And so I was out there banging tennis balls against a garage door. I got to find a new sport. So it was then that we were living in Houston, actually, and my dad, the club that my dad was a GM at, one of the, he wasn't even an assistant pro. I didn't even know what he was doing. Was Billy Ray Brown, who's now a golf commentator. Anyway, he worked for my dad loosely. He worked for, I don't even know what he was doing, to be honest. He was maybe an assistant to an assistant. But he gave me golf lessons. And it was before my freshman year in high school. And to be honest, I still use the exact same putting grip that Billy Ray Brown taught me when I was 14. But I was going into a high school in Texas where the girls' team was the top team in the state. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of fun. So I made that team and, played a lot there. And then we moved to Arizona, and then I played on the national best girls golf team. So in 2.5 years, I was a one handicap. Like I really got into it. So, I kind of went from 0 to 80. I was just playing it every day. And at that point, it was pretty obvious, like how great it was and the doors it could open for you and all the people you would meet. And, here I was, age 16, 17 years old, playing with Charles Barkley in Phoenix and, taking money from him. Although he would probably deny that. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I had a really great time, and then and I had no design to go pro, and never did. Still never did. But I did play in college at Baylor, and they had just really started their team, so it wasn't super competitive. But they're really competitive now. I could never make that team now. But it was great that I could just keep it going. And then I went into the Golf Channel, and so I've just it's been the linear thing that has taken me through my entire life. And to be honest, I don't know where I would be without it. I really don't know. And no offense, but I look at some of my friends who don't have something like that they've taken from their childhood into their adulthood. And I feel kind of bad because you can tell that there's a loss, that they're sort of searching for something similar. And I don't know that there is anything similar to golf, that opens these doors and where you meet these wonderful people and travel to these great places. And, so
exactly.
It's hard to quantify it really in the outside world if you're not in golf. But I've been so lucky that it's been a thing that has gone through my whole life. And aren't we all lucky that it's something that we can play, as we age? Because
that's the big one for me, as I get older and you don't have the same, because you mentioned tennis a few moments ago, and when you get older, I'm not saying that people don't, but tennis is very high impact on particularly your legs and knees and things like that. And I'm not saying that golf doesn't offer some issues as well, but it's not the same. I mean, I know people that are in their 90s, live down in the villages in Florida that are out there. They might only play 9 holes. Some of them only play 6 holes, but they're out there every other day, or some cases even every day. And it's great. But and it's a great social thing. And I think what it does, it humbles even the best athletes in the world. I mean, there's athletes that have come from some of the toughest sports out there, whether it be baseball, football, hockey, you name it. And they get out in the golf course and they're whiffing it around and they're thinking, I can't believe this. I just scored a touchdown, last week and, threw this and did that and ran through, and tackled so-and-so. And I can't even hit this ball down the middle of the fairway. So it becomes a challenge. And I think you would probably agree with this as well. It's even when you're not playing your best, it takes but one good shot to say, you know what, I'm coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, that felt great.
You know what I mean? And people that don't get it, my sister, unfortunately, no longer with us, but she hated it. Could not understand. I would watch the Masters. I don't get it. And I said, you need to go out and you need to try it. And she, up until the point that she left us, she played it all the time. She loved it.
Did she?
And as soon as she got bit by the bug, that was it. She'd come walking in with new clubs, new outfits, shoes, you name it, she had it. And I almost died, almost fainted on the floor when she walked through the door. I wish she was still around now. I'd introduce you to you and get her to buy some of your things. But it just goes to show you that even, that some people that don't have an understanding of the game, just really what it does, it's more than just chasing a little ball around 18 holes. It's I don't even want to say it's a culture. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just, there's something about the game that brings the challenge in you out and brings the competitiveness out, but at the same time allows you the ability to laugh at yourself when you're not playing your best, because you think, I can't believe I played that rotten hole the way I did. And we saw that in the Masters. Poor Bryson had some struggles out there in the Masters, but then
Happens to everybody.
Right. It happens to everybody. So yeah, it's interesting. What's happening with LOHLA moving forward? What are we seeing coming out later in the season? I know you mentioned a couple things. What's your vision as you move forward and get ready? Believe it or not, I know we're just starting 2025, but you're already looking forward, I guarantee it, to 26 and maybe even 27. So what are some things that you can share with us that you're looking forward to and that might be coming out in the next little while?
Well, we are, we're still growing, Ted. I mean, we, geographically speaking, we still have not covered the entire U.S. We do have sales reps out there in key hot pockets, but there's a lot of the U.S. that we're still not carried in. So our sales team and me and we're all working on that, just getting into more and more country clubs. That's the best place for us, where most women can find us. And the country clubs that we are in it's been so wonderful, and we have such great partners there. So we'll be growing that way. We are blossoming over the seas all of a sudden into Ireland this season. So we've got a couple of clubs that are excited to have us there, which we're equally excited about. And so I think that international growth is definitely on the forecast, probably within the next 2-year period, as you're saying. And then, in terms of our styles, we're trying something new with our collections a little bit going forward. We've been doing 5 collections per season. We're actually going down to 4, but making them a little bit wider. And I think that is going to be really good for the mix and match ability, because there will be a few more pieces in there that you can throw in. And so we've got that going design wise. We've got a few new fabrics this season. We've got a new sun protection fabric that we've come out with for shirts. And so we're definitely experimenting there. We've got some cool Pima cotton coming from Peru later this summer. So, we're going to be expanding a little bit in terms of fabrics and styles. But of course, you can play golf and everything still. I promise. But yeah, no, I mean, we've definitely, we're kind of just now hitting an area where people are starting to know us. We don't have to explain who we are every time. And, now we can really get some momentum, I think, in terms of growth.
Well, it's like any business. I mean, it takes a while to get out there into the market, but when you have certain products that really stick in people's minds, like you talked about earlier, the Very Pants, that's something that's your sort of your anchor, if you will, and people remember that, and then they start to come back and say, oh, what else do they have? When they find something, and this is the one thing, and that I think differs from men. Men will just sort of go out and get whatever. Women, when they find something that they really, really like, they will stick it, and they're very loyal.
Yes.
And so, when they see that you've got a specific, product or part of your line that they really, really like, that'll be their anchor. And then they'll look around to see what else you have, but they're going to come back every season, update, upgrade, whatever is available, they're going to stick with that. And, that's why I was saying earlier to you, I think sometimes when brands start to get too far away into other areas or other lanes and sort of move away too much from their core constituents, it can cause problems. And it sounds like you've got things very, very well anchored. And that doesn't mean you're not adding new things to the line, but you're staying, as you said, you want to make sure that everything's sort of golf related. Doesn't mean they can't wear that outfit somewhere else or they couldn't mix and match and do other things, but it's essentially every piece is something that they can wear when they play golf. And that's something that, is important to the people that really look forward to your brand. So kudos to you and your team. Any last thoughts that you want to share? And then we'll give them the website and let them go and check it out. So what any final thoughts that you want to share?
Well, spring golf is coming. And even in Los Angeles, it's cold here right now, but I know it's around the corner. So we've got a lot of new great collections for spring. Fall is following just around the corner too, starting in July. So, please, if you haven't checked us out, please do. Our website is a great place to find us, which is LOHLAsport.com. And there is an H in that, LOHLAsport.com. And then, and if your country club doesn't have it, then please ask. That's the best way to get into these country clubs, is just to have, a couple of members asking for it here and there. And that certainly helps us out a lot. And then, we also look forward, Ted, to, maybe, as I say, we've got this sort of partnership with Regent Cruise Lines coming up. We're looking for other fun ways and other fun companies to partner with, to expand the brand, but also, to meet new people.
Yeah, I think it's important for that, and I think you've done a fantastic job, and I think you're going to continue to grow and expand, and you've already made some great partnerships, not just with the country clubs that you're already invested in now, but obviously a great partner in Annika. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better, relationship there, of course, both on a personal and obviously on a business level as well. So you're definitely on a great track. So I just want to say, everybody go to LOHLAsport.com, and it's LOHLAsport.com. All of the great stuff that we've been talking about and more is available there. And if you want to reach out to Lisa and maybe you have some questions or whatnot, her information, I'm sure, is there available as well. But Lisa, thank you very, very much for joining me. It's always a pleasure, and it's great to have kind of a face-to-face for a different.
I know. I like that. I like your new format.
Well, it's still a work in progress. I'm working on it, but it's getting there. But I want to thank you very much for spending time with me. And much continued success. And I'm going to have you, obviously, as I said earlier, to come on the other program, our women's program, and we'll tee that up. But hang tight for a second. I'm going to wrap up here, and then we'll call it a night. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And again, a special thanks to my featured guest tonight, Lisa O'Hurley from LOHLA Sport, the CEO and founder. And then also a very special thanks to my earlier guest, Pete Buchanan, joining me on the Coaches Corner panel. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. God bless and have a great week. We'll see you next time on Golf Talk Live. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coaches Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.